I hope you
Welcome again, everybody,
I
to our
hope you have
how-to
some bright
session.
colors. Do you have
Ah,
some bright colors, like some pinks
we'll
and some
see. We'll
yellows?
test it out, right? We have to try things, right? Personal development. See the best color that works for us when we present ourselves for our meeting or branding. We started the conversation a little bit in the jazz. Welcome to everybody that is here with us today. For those new, this is our how-to session, regularly held on Tuesdays and Wednesday, 12 p.m. It's an open forum. Anybody can ask question any level. We basically just ask it to be organized. Raise your hand. I bring you forward. You ask your question so we can all share in the knowledge gain. I also have Robert assisting me with the chat. So if you have questions you don't necessarily want to voice them out, you can ask the question. He will answer. And if anything, we will address it openly. Everything that we do, I offer in recap in links. I'll put the links in the description and we'll jump right into our session. Good for everybody? Perfect, perfect. So we'll start with the round of questions, if any. You can start, raise your hand, ask the questions. If not, I will pick up where we left off on our last discussion. And as we progress again, I'll receive questions during the process. Good? Perfect. So I'll start. And if ever there are questions, we will basically interject. Last time, leaving our meeting, there were 2 points that we covered or that I promised to cover. Marta had requested that we take a look at the process at building the digital cards, which I covered briefly during the course of that meeting. I'll go over it. And in that perspective, I also offer. Oh, sorry. Stop 1 second here. I lost my light. Just gonna bring it back. In that perspective, as well, I offered to do a course so that it could be offered as a standalone process for anybody to follow. In that perspective, Arba had asked me what was the difference between what I was offering through our newsletter, that I actually put all the links in the chat, and the idea of a course. Um, it's a little bit more in depth of a process for those who are in this space as elite and are looking to build course process. Usually, you want to have a little bit of a more in-depth and step-by-step description of the process. To that effect, what I did is for those who are visiting frequently the team section, you will notice that in the team content, I added a new tab, course library. And you will also notice that I will be making the course available. I set some templates in place. I am going through the process of testing it myself. I question for those using Vimeo, because I wanted to explore the tools that I had, Vimeo versus YouTube. And to my surprise, I was only limited at 2 videos on Vimeo. Is that the case when you're on a free account? Is it something that cycles on a monthly basis? Robert, I see you putting forward.
Yeah, I'm not certain about
Yeah,
whether it cycles or not, but they tend to lean more towards you having a paid subscription.
absolutely. Case Case said
Keisha can
it's
probably answer this better.
go ahead, Keisha. You're muted if you're
Yeah,
answering.
they
Mhm.
it does cycle each month, but what I do to get around it is I pull my videos into Canva and I embed it from Canva. That
Ah,
way it
okay.
doesn't nobody gets any extra information I don't want them to have.
Oh, super. Okay, perfect. Uh, I looked at it. I was gonna see what else I can do with it. Actually, case study. This is the perfect funnel type example. Why? Because they offer a free sign in with my email acquisition, and I've been receiving email offers to upgrade ever since. So when you acquire, you offer a moral trade, and that follows an email strategy. Once you're in the environment, I discovered that there was a lot of features there, but all required that opt in, right? Which is also what we are doing here with our Now Site team. We offer free access. Eventually, you have access to free information. And as you go forward, you are prompted or shown the value in opting into something bigger, right? Which comes into the course process. Okay. Now, that said, uh, that put me in front of certain restriction on how to make the course exercise available, right? So I have to go over that. As soon as I have a good strategy in place using that, I will share it. But for now, what I did is, of course, if you have access to the course, it means that you have access to the content, thus the course library. The videos for the courses are not yet complete. However, everybody that is in this space should be able to follow basically the course structure here that I put forward. You'll notice that it's going to be a little bit more in depth, or I am trying to make it more in depth and step by step in the process. Okay. One of the things which is great. I also made available the course website here, so you can actually visit it. I should actually make it part of the shared list from now on of our links that we have, or share it right now. There are documents that are already in place. I invite you to take a look at it. For those that are beginning, it's a great exercise to fine tune what you're doing. For those that are expert, you will take a look at it. Let me know if that was of any use, and also it will be a good approach on what kind of assets you are looking to build around course structure. I shared that link in the chat, which brings me back to what we are doing here today. One of the conversation that we were covering before even the digital card, while we were talking about the email. And you'll notice as well, I made the email part of the core structure. Why? Most of the information that I needed was already built in place, right? So I used that, replicated those templates to now create the structure for the digital card, which lines up properly since when you first are introduced into Now Site, okay, whether you're an expert or a neophyte, a beginner, we usually will start you with the digital card, right? And the first thing I'm going to show you, last time we were working a little bit on this digital card. I'll start again from scratch for those who are new if needed, but already looking at what you are expecting to end up with as a result, you can see that we have certain assets that we're going to need to prepare. So any exercise in the end, any cycle in the end of learning or preparation, or sorry, of activity, will start with the same point, preparation. Go ahead, John. You go ahead, John. Your microphone is muted if you're talking. I cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Oh, I didn't really. I raised my hand at an opera, not at the best time. I just had a question, but
Go
it
ahead.
would interrupt what you're doing. So go right ahead.
No, 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 no. There is no interruption. It's an open space. I'll pick up. It might line up into what I'll say next. So what was the question?
Okay, well, probably not, but I just kind of popped in, popped out. A
Mhm.
question I have actually is in regards to nav.
Nav, okay.
My question is this: with nav, it kind of gives you step by step, what to do if someone goes dark and all that type of thing. My
Mhm.
question is, does nav pull from like what you've got uploaded in your content, like in your team section? Like if a customer or prospect ask a question, Can it pull from content that you've got uploaded in your team section yourself instead of just pulling, so giving suggestions to send a, YouTube video or whatever content, that type of thing? Can
Um,
it actually pull things that you have uploaded and send a specific video or whatever? Does it have that capability, or is it just kind of pull from things from the internet? So if that's
well, basically, to answer the question, and actually, it actually lines up to where I was going to go next in the business, in the steps of setting up your business card. It
uh-huh.
also lines up with the step of using NAV. Everything that is related to NAV starts with the business profile. So the information that it's going to use to analyze your conversation and suggest the step by step that you are
Uh-huh.
following is
Right.
here. Okay. It won't pull from the content that you have in your team or that you have created, because that part is the second part of what it does. I will go, for example, to a contact and explain that. I'm going to open it here,
Okay.
because the idea here is that NAV pulls from your business profile. As you see here, I have to select one. So I'll pick mine, I activate here. And what it does is it also looks at the personality analysis.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Gotcha.
The sales plan that is giving you is a standard one. Okay. It
Uh-huh.
follows our sales flow. In line with what you're trying to do, I'll show you the next step, because it goes back again to what we were covering: preparation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, 1 second, I'm just going to let it run here, because what you want to do, if there are specific messages, specific structure that you want to use
Mm.
beyond this, depending on where it falls, because when you have this here, it's telling you what to do. The next step is using one of these tools to exchange, depending on the one that you're using. I assume that we're using the message, the direct message for social media engagement, correct, John?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Perfect. So what you want to do, right? You can open this before even starting the exercise of marketing to your next prospect. You go to the cold outreach, and you see you can use these to create your set template of messages.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that the tool here at this point, since I've launched it from the customer profile, it will use its personality analysis. And once again, it will use your business objective to craft conversation around that. So here, for example, I would want to build a rapport, since I just pulled out this content, or I have this, well, I have this content, I pull it out, right? It's going to ask me what is the topic of the conversation. If I want to go directly around what my business profile is reflecting as my what in the
Mm-hmm.
process, then I can go here. If I want to change, then I can go here, or you have basically your saved message that you'll be able to use. Does that
Okay.
answer your question? Who gives you options?
Yeah, pretty much. It gives me a little bit more idea. So it pulls from your business profile and
Yeah.
knows the general objection that you're trying to accomplish. I just thought it, might actually pull specifics that you could say, hey, send so and so client this particular, that type of thing. But it's not quite to that point. But
No.
but
For
I
for yeah, for
it's
two
kind of more,
reasons.
so it's more of a general
Yeah.
overview of whatever your business profile, suggests or
Yes.
shows. Okay, gotcha. Good deal.
Exactly.
Appreciate the response. Thanks. So, I do
Thank
have
you.
one other question. So I've got the floor real quick.
Go
You're
ahead.
doing a great job. So no reflect on
Thank
you
you.
whatsoever. But haven't heard from Cheryl or Adrian or Justin. Usually it seemed like almost weekly there for a while. They were popping in with different updates and things they were working on.
Mhm.
I know maybe I've just missed it, but I don't think because I'm not totally in tune on a daily basis, but haven't heard from them. It's just kind of a little bit of a lull, or is there any particular reason behind that?
No, what I can tell you right now is that they're heavily involved in all the updates and things that we're bringing in. What I can offer in regards to what they were doing is, on your account bottom right, you do have access to support. You can inquire on other upcoming presentation or message
Uh-huh.
that you would want to be aware. But also take a look at our resources here, because from what I know, the Thursday event was where I think they would appear most often, if I'm not mistaken, Robert, was usually on the calendar. So monitor our calendar for the Thursday event, and when there's those specific event appear, you can definitely tune in to commune with their knowledge base or their updates. Works?
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll monitor that. Just hadn't heard from them for a while. I thought maybe I missed it, or if they just kind of, didn't have anything new to report or what have you. There for a while, it seemed like they were on a roll. Almost like every Thursday they were, coming out and giving some updates, and Justin would appear, of course, periodically. And so, anyways, okay, all good. Appreciate your help, man.
Pleasure, pleasure. Perfect. Okay. So, yes, everything brought us back again to the same point of conversation and starting everything here, preparation, right? Definitely, you want to make sure that already you have gone into a process of creating an inventory of your marketing assets, right? And marketing assets is a big word for a list that starts very simply with your contact information, your business contact information, right? Then after that, we can look at our social media presence. Okay. This is an important thing. I recommend this exercise to everybody, new and elite or old. The elite, you already should have a marketing list. Everything that is important to you, everything that you create that lines up with your conversation, right? So, for example, your social media link, these are things that you need for your digital card, right? Any business link that you would have, these are important things, right? Any website training assets. And we covered last time that we don't necessarily need to create these websites, these marketing, these training or webinar if our opportunity offers such an avenue for us to go to, just like we do, then we use that. Here I decided that Monday is always a great day to start. So if I'm going to recommend something to an onboarding, then I'm going to focus on that first. In the previous conversation that we had, the business profile that I was leading with was about onboarding people for the My AI, the marketing, and then the unlimited. So this is what I went looking for on those calendars: preparation, because now I know that I have that. For those who are not necessarily at the level of creating their marketing asset or are just starting, use what your opportunity, your MLM activity, your industry, or even your peers have to offer to create your own strategy. Start by taking an inventory of what you use yourself to learn the process, right? One of the things that we often don't talk about in this space, and that eventually I think everybody needs to cover, are the income streams, right? That's also is part of your asset list. Where are my income stream coming from? The first one is usually your affiliation and compensation plan, which you need to know if you're going to offer that conversation to anybody, and then anything else, right? In that regards, for example, I was looking at Vimeo because of the tier membership, but you have to pay to play, which is normal, right? So what other system can I use to create membership tiers? Could be a Google type calendar. What are we doing? So this is important. So first thing, and always you want to see, and you'll see that in the course, that is also the first step that I start with in each learning cycle. For the marketing or the digital card, we start with that. Let's create preparation. If I'm doing an onboarding, same thing. Okay, well, what are the assets that I need to prepare for an onboarding? All the introductions is what I needed to know myself, where to find the resources, and then the course content, and then the support system, right? So you usually will start here. Now, uh, using this is when you're going to be taking advantage of the uh, tool to build your conversation. In this case, the digital card is not offered by default since it's always present there, but I'll show you where to access it for those who want, again, a refresher on that. It's a great way to also discover the rest of our asset. I always recommend in terms of creativity, take a look at what has been done. There are some great templates. You click here on no, I want to click it myself. It opens the library. And the one that we're looking at once again is the last one, this asset. So we click on it, we enter the information, and it will basically create the first settings of what we are now looking at, right? Now, very importantly, of course, coming back to what we discussed, the first conversation or the first asset that you're going to be putting in place is here. Again, that brings us to something else in the sense that when you are creating your digital card, you are now about to start, well, it's a funnel. Simple as that. Why? Because here I switched to mine. Technically, when you're doing this already, you have a mind to make sure that your business presence on each one of your assets is lined up for the same conversation, right? And you can see that each time I am hinting beyond my persona to the interest of this conversation. And this is important. A good thing is that when you are doing and using the tool properly, social media are just like website as far as settings, right? You need conversation point, you need business description. So your initial conversation tool here, the initial information here will become asset that you will be able to use, right? You can take these conversation and go to your AI. I'm about to update my LinkedIn profile. Can you give me an updated description based on this business profile? Right? Part of the marketing asset in the digital course that you will see have also to do with branding. I think it's important to keep in mind that aspect. We've discussed it. So preparing content ahead of time that will help you in the end give more life to your digital card is important. We will need an updated photo. And at this point, everybody has a phone that with the proper lighting, and any home lighting will do, and the proper setting, any wall of the same color will do, is able to give himself a professional profile picture. Simple as that, right? So you just have to prepare and execute, get a haircut, get a makeup done, find the best wall, put the best light around you, and take that selfie, that professional selfie, or better yet, call a friend or peer. If you're able to work with peers in your area or not, call a friend or family. Pause, have them take a picture with your phone, use the filters, and achieve what we need, the first impression, right? The digital card is such an important asset. We start with it and we often neglect it, but it's the vehicle of a lot, right? The reason why it brought me back as the starting point for the course is because in the process of offering our contact information, we are also able to make a first strong call to action, which brings in the rest of our assets. For example, a booking link. How do people get in touch? Okay. The rest, in terms of updating that information, which is what I didn't brief on last time, is fairly simple. Uh, just go back here. NowSite, in terms of user interface, is the most friendliest of them all. Okay. If there was a mirror and mirror on the wall, who's the most friendliest interface of them all? NowSite is the one, it would say. Right? Because essentially you're just grabbing, dropping, dragging, dropping, pasting, and copying. So there should be no fear. You should be having fun here, right? Look at what came out of the last discussion, frenzy. Okay, we had a conversation. I felt that okay, we should be doing something like that. I generated the landing page using the asset. And then I went into adding more of what I need, right? You will be able to take a look at that frenzy, right? Using the AI, using the tools that you have available becomes easy once you get into it. Okay. In the course, these are going to be videos. They're not yet in place. But again, if you are part of this conversation, or even if you go back and take a look at the recap step by step, you should be able to follow the course instructions for now. The video will be more broken down and elaborated for those who are not in this space. And this is, I think, the intent of creating training content. Without your presence, the content should be lined up step by step with exercise in between to make sure that anybody could follow that information. Okay. So coming back to the editor again, we know how it works, or this is how it works for those who are new. Everything that we're mainly using to set the tool in place is in the gray zone here. Again, always important. It's the first and easiest step to do. Let's go to our website setting and make sure that we have a conversation. In this case, since I'm bringing a template, it doesn't, which again reinforces the idea of having a business profile for even the first basic thing in the system, or the most important thing in the system, us, the anchor, right? Preparation is important, and every journey starts with that. We're lifting the anchor once we have made the inventory of our uh, needs, that we have made the count of our head passengers, of our people traveling with us, of the team members, and then we progress. So the business profile again will be always, and again has always been at the heart of what we are exchanging here. For simple fact, as we are progressing, we're understanding even more the value behind these. When I say how is all my marketing asset? Did I do an inventory of that? What exactly am I doing with each one of these assets for the clients so that I can expect, or this is where I go to expect conversion? Last time, the conversation that we had around email also had Howard asking us, or bring up a very strong point. What do I do with a list of 7,000, right? If this list is a list that you are trying to convert, that is the aim. So, in a core to that objective, you will have to line up your marketing assets, the one that bring the client to you, the one that bring the client to the conversion link, the one that brings them to the support link, right? Have a general list, have them separated so you know these are the links that I use to say hello. This is the acquisition part. These are the links that I use to inform. And the act of informing has an objective to convert. So information usually is a soft conversion process, right? But they fall into that. Introduction means you are informed. What is the next step? Okay. Conversion, then we have our retentions, training, and all that stuff. And you remember what I said. For me, the retention process, how I keep you interested, is as important as how I got you to walk into the door. Because if I told you walk into the door, this is what you're going to be expecting, then you are formatting your time, your head, or your perspective, have being ready for that. I'm going to spend time in this because there's a lot of resource. There's a lot of things there. I'm not going to get lost. Okay, so the stronger your retention strategy, the more prepared you are for that process, the more you are equipped for the first phase of what we're doing, inviting them with that exchange. Right? Coming back to Vimeo, it was great, giving me all that action there. I noticed that it's easier in Vimeo to have, for example, hyperlink documents and such from the go. And I was impressed with that. So that would give me the opportunity for people to download that. It's a different format, I think, in YouTube. I have to go explore that and other conversation. So this is me also building strategy as I explore different tools. I can choose to invest or not, depending on what I am looking to do. So keep that in mind when you're doing your inventory. But in all case scenario, start creating your list. My contact info is the first. My business link, my training or support information. These are the major categories since they operate in line with the movement of our overall funnel strategy. I need this to get you to the meeting. I need this to sure that you opt in, and I need this to keep you informed into the loop. Okay, so here, coming back to what I need, I'm just going to have the AI write the first essential part of it, which is the business description, right? Which is also what people will see when I share the link. Okay, again, after that, we go to the core here. It gave me a lot. Just gonna take who we are. Welcome to. Yep, this first part is ideal. Of course, you want to filter this for the time that we have. I'm going through the motions of it. But remember, we need to read, adjust, make sure that it's following basically the intentions or the objective of the conversation that the rest of what the audience will see. Of course, here, change images. You can do without the image, depending on what type of format design you want. Okay, there are different things that can be done. For example, here, what I'll do, um, I have this here in a I would say a three part, right? Or two part, sorry. I could, for example, use my content section, right? Remember that the first thing, actually, I'm going to start from scratch. The first thing that you do when you are creating, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit because I did jump a little bit in my enthusiasm. So when you're ready to update, you are going to come to the page and basically click on the digital pencil. You note you have the three dots here. This is important. It allows you to hide the menu, duplicate the page. And if the page is not the home page, you can basically make it the home page. By default, the digital card is the home page. For example, when I started, I had a digital card, then I duplicated and turned it into a website. The digital card became the contact me of that website, right? So even this asset can be used as an essential part of all the assets to come because any business offer, any marketing asset requires this is how you contact me. The first part of conversion or acquisition, and it's also the first part where we display trust. We create trust and display our expertise, and this is where this part of the card comes into play. Of course, we're gonna ask you. I'm gonna click here. Sorry, I'm jumping here. I'm gonna click here on the digital pencil click drag, right? Anybody can do that. Again, some people are impressed by how I manage the software, and I always say make sure to use the right tool. I use a mouse. Why? Because moving my mouse is something that is a lot easier on my pad, right? And just a move of the wrist, I can cover most of the screen. So I can then freely act, right? Because it's just now two movement of a wrist to get things in place. So you always start with the first thing, the content section, click, drag and drop, and then you can look at these arrangements to decide how you're going to organize a conversation. Initially, you get the digital card on one block, right? What I usually recommend is to divide it in two. Why? Because it allows you to have a more balanced conversation at presentation, right? Here, for example, you can see on my card, I have my presentation here, and then I have an offer here. And it doesn't feel heavy. Why? Because, well, at least I feel that it doesn't feel heavy. I'll let you guys rate this and let me know how you feel about the conversation. But most people that I've presented this template of construction to were happy with it in the sense that you can clearly see who I am and how to reach me. And on the other side, you can read my offer properly. There is no confusion. The reason why is that we read left to right, top to bottom. So when I land on this, I already know what I'm doing. Be careful about how you arrange your conversation across these sections. This is what we call the fold, the first fold, right? I usually don't recommend adding more than one fold, but in this case, I added, as an example, another fold, keeping it simple. That should give you ideas. If you have more than one opportunity that you want to offer, you can do so. But be discreet in the way you do it. So it's not too, well, it doesn't that your offer don't compete or that the amount of information that you show doesn't overwhelm the reader, right? And be mindful of the call to action, right? Register, sign up. They don't lead exactly to the same process, but they lead to different opt-in lists. And this is the importance. Whenever you're creating a marketing asset, you generate one list. No matter how many forms you are putting on or on that landing page or across the market or the website itself, you are always feeding that same list. Of course, when you get to that list, I'm just going to demonstrate while I'm saying this. When you get to those lists, when the prospect are in those lists, to discover the list, you go to the contact section. So we have our navigation icons here. We'll go to the contact section and we'll go to the list. Okay. And you'll notice that every time you generate a digital card, you generate basically a list to it. Okay. I believe this was the digital card that we are working on. This is mine. Oh, I'm going to have to start looking at mine. So here, boom, you'll notice that I have the information. And if ever there are specific things, I think these are people that I put from my from the marketing. So from the prospecting tool, sorry. So here if I have additional notes on my form, then they will appear here in this section. We'll get to demonstrate that as well. This can help you with how you decide to use the form. I'm going to come back here. So back to the choice here. You have this choice. You can actually separate in two, or sometimes you can separate in three, depending on what you're going to do. The next step is basically using the next block. And you can see that is the two first block, as in the first essential tool that you want to be using across NowSite. I'm going to put it here in the third tab, or actually I'm going to put it in the middle tab here this time. And this is what these tab means, these plus signs or these arrangement. You can pretty much put this where you want. In this case here, I'm going to click on the construction. And here, for example, design tips, I can choose not to have the picture. There's a lot of links here. Note that by default, when you're in the gray section of the block that is highlighted, you'll have all the tools or the section that needs to be filled in. And you'll also have the style to decide basically what you're going to be using. First thing usually that you want to do is set the color of the buttons, right? Depending on what you are using. I have uh, I like purple, if you've noticed. It's a nice blend of passion and blue management. So puts you into that realm. It's also, I think, a color that has a lot of spiritual openness or inclination. This is something that we want to also come to maybe inform ourselves a little bit about. I usually see for those who are more in the uh, advanced stage of using our marketing tool, I usually see a lot of use of colors. Okay, colors. Be careful. Colors, just like fonts, have their languages, to have their emotions, have their part in our conversation. Red is a powerful color. If you put too much of it, you are putting that passion before anything, which is great seasonally. For example, Christmas, Valentine Day, we have a heavy use of those colors because everything is calling to your attention. Everybody is battling for that audience. So everybody is bright red, right? But be careful about how you use your color across your conversation. It's usually meant to emphasize where you want the attention to go. Okay, so here I picked purple. In the content section, there's a lot of links. Depending on what you're using, I haven't delved into Instagram, into Telegram, so I don't use it. Depending on where you are in the world, some of those are pretty much in use. For example, in Africa and in Europe, and WhatsApp is a thing. uh, I'm amazed with the business that is going through there. So it's a community. It's a community. Each one of those essentially give you access to a community, and you want, when making the choice, to think about that. YouTube, Vimeo, they offer communities. Not always will. Not, we won't always have. Uh, um, all have YouTube. So these are things that you can remove. The basic one that usually we will always start out with is our contact information, right? So our telephone number, our email, our SMS number, which usually is the same number, uh, our website. And even if we haven't created a website, at this point, coming into this space, we all have an opportunity that we're marketing, and that gives us an asset that we can use as a website. All the conversion links, for example, that NowSite offers, or the My AI, or the rest of the tool, will bring you to a website. So if the idea is to have this card to be a marketer of that opportunity when we're networking, then so be it. That is what we will have here. Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. We don't have TikTok. I'm not sure if it's going to be added. I think there's a lot of also conversation around whether or not it's authorized everywhere. I'm not sure if that plays in, but usually these are the one that you want to start out with. You have all the reason to do so. Why? Because you have the tool, social media tool, that will be able to fill in the blanks. Note you also have the AI. You don't necessarily need it to write your name, although I almost made a mistake writing mine there. Ha ha ha. Right? But you do need it, or you will use its help for the bio. Okay, so once again, it is important to have that again cornerstone. And coming back to what John brought to the conversation, if I want this conversation to be built around specific points, then I can go back and create another business profile and make sure that I specify these points so that I know that the conversation will be around that specifically. And then when I'm using it across the platform, I can refer to that one or rather, right? So if it's in the conversation process, so be it. If it's in the marketing, so be it. Most of the time, what we say outside the platform should line up with what we're saying inside the platform. So we pretty much should have that interaction or these updates happening. What I'm saying is most likely going to be around everything I'm offering in my business profile. So here we have this. It gave me a full here. I'm just going to take the first part. Okay. Usually my advice when crafting your, oops, gave me everything. When crafting your business card conversation, what I recommend usually, again, there is these fundamentals in value positioning that we discussed: interest, intention, call to actions. Um, in the description of your bio, I go a little bit deeper, uh, in a sense that when people are looking for the service of a professional, or when a professional is presenting themselves, the first thing that they will do, and this is where your your title comes into play. It sets the ground for your expertise, right? So whenever you are building this conversation, is it a little too much? Out, and I'll slash it. Okay. Uh, the reason why this is important is that the the expertise is what people are interested in when they seek out, basically when they seek us out as professional. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay, so I have my conversation in place, right? So this is important. So where we started out with interest, intention, call to action, when it comes down to these digital card, what I usually put forward is first expertise, okay, because that is what people are interested in. Then you're definitely going to put an intention, but that intention for me is usually something that responds to a client's expectation. So it's a promise. Okay. So it's a promise of service. So state your expertise. I am a brand ambassador and a client experience manager. Right. So that sets basically the ground for what I am doing. And you can see here, uh, from the first part, it's giving me that promise, my commitment, committed to transforming basically the way you do business. And of course, the call to action. Let's talk. Okay, as simple as that. Whereas in the conversation that follows, you're going to want, of course, in the second offer, we're going to dig deep on the interests of the conversation. We're going to give them our clear intention into talking about that. And again, the call to action. Okay. These are fundamentals that I anchor always in my mind. Why? Because it determines everything that happens after. Okay. So in this case, you can see also, this is the example that we had created: optimize your approach in 30 days. The video is no longer offered. So it means that that video particularly most likely had a time lapse on it. Um, when you're going through the library and you see things, save them if possible, like we discussed. If I try to download this video, most likely you've been restricted. As Robert mentioned last time, some of these videos are restricted for download. It means that this asset was something that I could only temporarily use. Um, so again, the structure here would be a little bit the same. Whatever asset I would need to put on this side, I could. And here, what I would want to do is basically put any picture, or not any picture, my picture. Okay, let me see if I have one here. I'll take this one, for example. Here, since it's a profile picture. Here, when you're picking out your pictures, notice I cropped this one in a vertical mode, because I was already in a vertical mode here. So I wanted to see where it would fall. The bigger the picture, I would have a bigger impact here. Here, because there is more contact than the size of the picture, I would be tempted in this case to remove the ones that are about social media, so that I can balance this out. Why would I do that? Simply because at the end, remember, we have the footer. So I could skip the fact that I can offer the social media, or the ones that I don't have, and basically line up a little bit more my presentation here. So you have different ways of using your content section, and that can allow you, just going to put this one here, and that can allow you to showcase differently what you have to offer. Just go back to here, I'm going to grab this and put the link. As you can see, same thing. Once we started moving the first construction block, I kind of stopped repeating that out loud, but I was a repeat of the same motion. Anything I am interested in, I'm going to do the next website tutorial elaborating on the use of these blocks, which are very simple. Well, the one thing that I always invite people to do when you start out here, create a website not intending to using it, but just to open it up and start playing around with these different construction blocks. They're not a lot, right? Roughly a dozen or above a dozen there. uh, just enough for you to create engaging conversation, not enough for you to get lost in the process of creation, right? Some uh, platform are a lot more robust, but then you spend hours in maintenance, which is not the idea in NowSite. This is a quick marketing asset so that you can continue on the process. Remember, the way we operate here in this space as entrepreneurs is always quick, rinse, wash, repeat. I am constantly trying things. If they work, I turn them into a standard way of operating. If they don't, I scrap them and use something else. Okay. So here, for example, what I would do, you're not always able to answer the phone. So what we could do here is remove the phone number and focus on the texting. Here, what I'm going to do, for example, is what I'll do is since I want to balance this here, and at the same time give myself some uh, design options here. So, for example, I can remove the website and I can come back since I'll have a space here with buttons option and whatnot. I do need my contact form. So I have the options. Next, contact form, click, hold, drag, and basically the blue line are letting me know where this will end. Okay, so I can try to see if I fit it here where it falls. Oh, okay, it would work. Then I could come back and add these other two lines here, and that would work for me. I should have added my form before I remove this. So you see, you can have some fun with the tool. You should. It's something that is simple enough to do. Here, I'm just going to grab this link here, copy, come back, and just for view, just going to put back the links. It's not exactly the Facebook link, but just want to make my square reappear. And just like that, you can see how basically you can bring your square forward. Here, for example, I'm going to remove the website. I am often active, or I would say I would choose to be more active in the professional realm. So I'm going to take Facebook and LinkedIn. That allows me to do what I want, for example. And in this case, what I'll do is next, using my construction blocks, I'm going to use my button. So far, we use the content section, we use the digital card, we use the heading, we use the content form, and now we will use basically, sorry, we use the video as well, and now we'll use a button. And I'm going to bring it here. And of course, here in this case, I don't even need a website. All I need is my affiliate link. Okay, here, get started. For example, discover. So simple as that. Of course, I would want to balance a little bit to make sure that I line up my buttons here. And there's still some text to add here. Elevate your marketing. Again, we do have our AI, so we are always just proofreading what it's giving us, as long as, again, we have properly anchored our conversation. So far, so good. Everybody's following me. Everybody's seeing a little bit where this should go. Is there value for everybody?
Yes. And the other thing, I don't know, I hadn't heard you mention,
Mm-hmm.
or if you had planned on it, but there's always the padding that you can show them, right?
Padding, how to move things around in terms of the space and such.
Yeah, just to the side.
Yeah, I touched that. I usually touch that at the end. Why? Because the padding here, you'll notice the padding will affect a lot. I see a lot of platforms that need to be updated sometimes. But before I touch the padding, what I recommend, look, for example, I wanted to see where this falls. So you see, I
Mhm.
have this option where I can have the two panels. I can use the three panel and have something like that. Of course, there's a little bit more adjustment to do. And only after that would I start looking at padding. Why? Because once I set things in place, I want to take a look at what is happening on the mobile before I do anything.
Right.
Okay, because this is where you will need to see, okay, is there certain things that I need to adjust to center things? I don't use padding. I recommend using, well, first we'll look at the mobile interface. You'll notice that for both, in both case, the option that I displayed here and the second one, everything will lined up the same way vertically, you see. And there's one thing that is important is the mobile interface. Why? Coming back to what we're doing at the end, we're going to be promoting this on social media. People are going to be accessing this on social media. All right. So the first thing that they get to see is a mobile interface. So even though I spend a lot of time on the presentation on desktop, why? Because working on desktop, I also know that this is what I'm doing, right? The only thing that don't translate between the laptop interface and the mobile interface are the sizes of the font and the spaces that you put in. Okay, this is why I hold to the end. Usually, what I'll do on the mobile for the pictures, I don't like these margin that are added. So this is when I start remove. I have a tendency of removing margin more than adding. Okay, here, for example, there's padding here or margin. We don't need all this space. If this was a flowing template, I would remove that so that I can keep the conversation tighter, concise. Because one of the things that you'll notice when you start adding space, margin, padding, and all that, it also is going to affect the overall look of the platform. So be careful with that. Do that last if required. Okay. One of the things that I do is usually consider, do I keep this at the container level? Do I keep this as such? Or in the width, do I expand full screen? Okay. And again, that only affects the desktop view. Okay. In certain cases, it's great. So here, for example, it gave me more options. So if I said, well, I'm going to come back and add more of these social media links, right? I can balance that. It gives me more presence for my picture, so more impact. So that could be something to take advantage of. Okay. It can also give me more space for conversation, both here. Or, as I did, what you can also do, and this is with reserve. Okay. Again, too many options can work against what we are doing. Okay. But you'll notice that sometimes, for example, in this case, particularly, which is NowSite, what we could do, okay, if we are eager to get them to demonstration, for example, what we could do is since we discuss the different links that our calendar offers, right? We could then have fun with inviting them to discover our star products for example, or more. So you could have this. Okay, people that are in wellness often have uh, wellness star products. Okay, that they can use. Here, one thing that I will do. Notice I worked here on the same fold, but I have already a digital card asset. I don't want to lose it. So what I'll do is I'll come here, I'll duplicate, right? I'll go to the copy first. And what I'll do is I will remove what has been added. So from the content section, I'll throw away basically everything here. This is something that I can keep either way in the format of my presentation. Notice I use the navigation arrow here to move things around. Sometimes it's easier to do that than to drag and drop. Okay. Okay. So now I have this version on the copy. So I'll say DC draft one, or in this case, two, since it's on the second page. Or actually, I'll do it once and I'll show you a function. So DC draft one, this was the first one, and DC draft two, that would be the second one. So I'm going to navigate to the second one, right? And of course, you know what I'm going to do. Click outside the fold, remove this. And now I have choices. I can take a look at what is happening. This could be something that you use as a process, for example, to showcase the card to friends. This is what I'm thinking about doing. This is what I've been working on. What do you feel is more engaging? We're going to a testing phase. It could be also, um, I don't recommend that, but you could have different different tabs if you have different business conversation that offer different telephone numbers and you see there's a lot of difference that are happening here. Too much choices, no good, right? But here just for the exercise and review, here we will preview these. And then example one. Oh, I lost my pictures here. They're big pictures. I would eventually come back and fix them. So we have example one, and I can take a look at example two. Lost the pictures. I move this and this. Questions?
No, but everybody seems to be very grateful. Tina said she really appreciates it. Very helpful. Good stuff, brother. I think
Thank
we're
you.
out of
Thank
time.
you. Perfect. Yeah, we're out of time. I'll continue tomorrow. For tomorrow, what I would put more assets there. But for tomorrow, what I would recommend is let's start, if we haven't, let's do it, our inventory of marketing assets. So that way, we always have that, regardless of what's going to be happening. We're always going to need those insight as part of our marketing strategy. Nav requires when we're sending messages to have something specific here. Coming back again to the solution offered to John, we can create pre recorded messages, and all of them will follow the same structure: interest, intention, call to action being the marketing link that we need. Actually, when we've discussed the idea of hot links, bring it back to life because we had forgotten it a couple of case study ago. Well, that was one of the function that Robert put into place, using our pre-recorded message so that we have these personalized way beyond what the system is suggesting, or we have those personalized way if the system is suggesting the nature of that message, so line up with that intention or objective. Good for everybody. See you tomorrow then,
Awesome stuff.
and prepare questions if there are any around this, and we will work things out. For the video breaking down the course section, I have to be fair. I'm not sure I'll be able to complete that by the week end, but most likely you should have them ready for next session. I'm saying this with the care. Sometimes you shouldn't promise things, but want to set goals. So if I don't reach them, at least I am closer to achieving them. This is also one of the things that drives our industry here, right? Setting goals.
Okay.
I'll see you tomorrow then. Have a good rest of the day,
Great
everybody.
day, everyone.